Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Outdoor Gamer here. Um, sorry, kind of took me longer to get this going than I anticipated. And sorry about the whole graveyard area. It's just, it, yeah. Let me explain what's going on. So last night, as anybody who watched the stream knows and saw, Rebecca's fate has finally came to the ultimate conclusion of where her story was always going to go. When I designed Rebecca, she was always going to die in this story, so the one thing I was not entirely counting on, though, was becoming attached to the character. So this one might be a bit emotional for me. Probably can hear it in my voice, so try to bear with me as I go through this, because it's a lot. Um, the Vega House is a very complex story. I designed it to be so because I wanted it to be something that's going to last a long time. It's not a 1 monther or 2 monther. This is something that's going to be going on, I'm hoping, for an entire year. Before the ultimate conclusion of who is controlling the San Andreas fraction of Vega House. That's the thing that most people do not know at all. Is that this story is 3 stories being told around it. You got I hit the mic there, my apologies. You got Amelia's story. You have the Vega House of San Andreas' story, and then you have the overall auction story that surrounds Vega or Vince, which is Amelia's fiance, ex-fiance. Which I unfortunately haven't really been able to fully play out like I want. That's the biggest downside I have on this, is I can't really do a lot of the social, just regular kind of roleplay when it comes to just having her live her life, explaining who her history and stuff. That's the big mystery that's missing because I was trying to. It's just there's not a lot of opportunities to have those kind of conversations with various characters and stuff, so I just won't able to fully bring that side of the story out. So this is where I'm gonna try to explain what's going on. Amelia met Vega, the actual person who controls the entire organization from Vice City. Though she was not in Vice City, let me be clear. He's from Vice City. He runs and started the entire organization out of Vice City, and it has spread out from there, and it's just starting to reach San Andreas. Amelia lived in Liberty City, where she is purely innocent in all this. She did not know anything about who she met when she met Vince that night at the casino. A lot of this is being put into a biography that I'm putting on my Discord to explain Amelia. She's the main character of this story, as you probably figured out by now. And Rebecca was a secondary character, which meant that she was always either destined to leave the city or die. In Rebecca's case, it was always meant to die. She's the reason that from this point forward, Amelia's willing to testify against Vega. Because again, part of the story I wasn't fully able to express through the social aspect like I wanted, is Amelia is being pressured by the Vice City DA to testify because she unintentionally saw all the bank account records, the routing records of basically Vince's whole operation. She's the only one that knows literally every criminal organization operation within the country. So basically, she is the key to putting Vince away forever in the eyes of the DA, who's basically like any other DA. He wants the case. He wants to have the case as solid as possible, and he's pressuring Amelia into doing it, who doesn't want to because she does love Vince. I mean, they were together for 3 years. This is not a little story. This is a very in-depth story that I really wish I could have told the way I wanted to. But again, I designed a lot of this story. In fact, I designed a lot of my stories off a false notion. Let me put it this way. Yeah, that's the best way I could put it. I designed my stories off of them being on OCRP, which is a very different server simply due to population. This server, while we have great role players and amazing storytellers, we're just starting out. It's new, and it's taken a while before we'll ever have that kind of population. So I can never tell the story the way I wanted it to. And unfortunately, by the time I really started to understand that with my characters, I had started so much of this story, and now I'm trying to figure out how to redesign it for this community to better tell the story in a way that gives all the information. So it's more me thinking too large for what I was able to do. And so therefore a lot of information is just not known. And I do apologize about that. I just got too eager to tell the story, and by the time I started realizing the cracks were forming, I didn't know how to better explain what was trying to happen. A lot of what I needed was just pure social interactions, and there's just not a lot of that outside of what people do for their own Pacific stories. So it... Oh, hang on. But yeah, it's more or less just, I'm trying to tell a story that can't be told with what I'm currently working with, so I just have to do this now to just explain what's going on. So that's the biggest problem, is I'm not telling the story the way I should be telling it to better explain all this. If, like I said, if I had a little bit more social interactions, I could have had a lot of Amelia side of the story told, which is a lot of the important stuff, unfortunately. The fact that she's basically knows Vega, even though she doesn't know Vega. She doesn't even realize Vega is as dangerous as he is. So, basically, Amelia was never going to testify against him. Rebecca, however, does know Vega. She knows Vega a lot more than what she ever revealed to the story, because I just couldn't, again, tell it. But more than that part, just I can't actually tell that aspects. I don't know how to tell those aspects because it's out-of-state stories, and I don't know enough about the GTA world to be able to tell those kind of stories yet. I'm learning. But when it comes to what's happening in San Andreas, we have 3 stories. The Amelia story, the Vincent story, which is about to wrap up, fortunately, though it's not over, because even though he's about ready to go away because he's the testimony, which she will be leaving next week out of town to do that. That's going to be I don't know if I'm going to play it out or not, because I don't really want to waste the cops' time just driving her to the airport or not. I might let them decide if they want to do that. Especially since recent events is definitely going to affect how Amelia's going to react to people. And all this stuff. Again, I also want to clarify, when I shot at the cops last night, I was operating off pure adrenaline. And I did not even realize they were cops. What I was understanding and how I was seeing the scene, there was no cops down there. There should not have been cops. Cops should have been to my left completely, but somehow which not somehow, it's just how life is. You don't know what's happening, so you can't just operate off what you think is going on. So that's what happened with the cops, just to be clear. I totally screwed Rebecca over on that one. If I just allowed myself to think and look and maybe take the time, I would not have shot. And they would not have shot at me, which would have further escalated. And as for me, I swear, in the moment, I really did believe they shot first. I've gone back and watched that in my stream so many times, trying to understand why my brain said it was that way, but I can clearly see I shot first. It was me who instigated it, and that is why Rebecca went to jail. And I am annoyed at myself, but at the same time, I see how it happened. I understand how it happened, and that's sort of life. So I gotta roll with it. It's my mistake. If they saw me, I pulled a gun, I shot at cops. I totally deserve for Rebecca to go to jail. So I want to make that clear on that one. I'm sorry, my head's chaotic. I'm still trying to deal with all this, process all this, and try to explain this in a clear manner, so I know I'm not doing a very good job because I'm still chaotically all over the place. how my mind works, unfortunately. So let me try this again. The original concept of Vega House started with one homicide and a burglary. If you remember to the first of my videos, episode 6, The House Always Wins, that was the official start to the Vega House about a month ago. Actually, it was the 14th of September to be exact, because I was looking at the dates. It started the whole story, basically establishing that the whole Vega House was part of an underground casino. They don't like it when you owe them money, and they'll go to any lengths to get that money back, from murdering you and going after your family to coercing you to steal from your family to pay off debts as fast as possible. That's the whole way of the Vega operation. When it's just the city concepts, when it's just their story, that's how they operate. They're just there to collect the money and run the games. They really don't do any of the actions. That's why all the hitters and stuff were all from out of state, because they're from the original operation out of Vice City. Every one of them, including Tommy, is from there. But Tommy is relevant to the San Andreas faction. He's one of the main guys up at the top. He's not the head of it. Who's running it has not been revealed. That's still part of the story to come. So that's something to look forward to. With their faction, there is 3 homicides linked to them. The first homicide of Peter, which was in the House Always Wins case. Then there was the shooter who took the shot on Viper, Kelly Vipers, which we saw dead at the end of that episode. He was the guy in the gray suit. That's why he had the gray suit, because he didn't make the cut. He had the card and all that stuff, basically saying, hey, you failed in your operation. This is the price you earned for failure. And that's why he was found dead. The third person was obviously Diana Mills, which was came from the original case, who stole the jewelry, but because she talked and was giving out information and Vega found out about it, well, not Vega, but the Vega House operation in San Andreas found out about it, they silenced her. Now, that was an out-of-state character that they called in to handle that. That's sort of when everything started, because unfortunately, playing both characters, I cannot have the interactions I sometimes need, but what happened was Amelia got seen by that character while she was working at the casino. That's when Vega realized she had gone to San Andreas. He didn't think she had gone through it, even though they were both supposed to move to San Andreas once Amelia and them were married. But then once he got arrested in Liberty City and then was linked back to what was going on in Vice City, she just had to get away from everything. And even though it was still tied to Vega, San Andreas was the closest and cleanest fresh start she could get. That's how she got here. And so basically that moment, from that first time that guy came into the city, he saw Amelia at the casino, and that started this whole tracking and killing Amelia, which I was never going to happen. Amelia is a character that's too important to the story, unfortunately, which is where Rebecca came in. That's why I said she was always meant to die. It was the key to getting Amelia to testify, as well as to make Amelia human, to show that she has family, to make it more than just her stakes. It's everyone's stakes she's interacting with. And this guy is willing to do whatever it takes to silence her. He's still willing to. Right now, I mean, even after he goes to jail, he's not going to let this go. So at times, Amelia's going to have little things happen. So that's some fun stuff to look forward to. Sin server. As for what's going on with Vega House, that in San Andreas' Vega House, that whole operation is still pretty much quiet. Ever since that last shooter came into town and screwed up and got killed, they don't want to operate. Only Tommy's out there doing what he's doing because he has to, because he's still tied to the Vice City aspects of it. So basically, he's kind of forced into it, but if from this point, you're going to notice there's going to be fractions between the different things. A lot more of the San Andreas faction is going to start to appear, because they're going to be basically on their own now, because without Vince, because
and like I said, Amelia's going to be going to testify, so he's pretty much off to some federal prison that's got no way he's going to be controlling the operation from for a long, long, long time. So all the different factions are going to go independent, including San Andreas's. So that's pretty much where the story is up to now. How it's going to continue, I'm obviously not going to go into. And as I said, this is a very long format story. This is not something that's going to end anytime soon. I'm trying to get more people together so I can start doing more of the underground houses, the gambling houses, so that way we could try to get some stings going. That's the only thing I'm working on right now, is just trying to find people to build up that concepts, and then we could start the Vega house back up, and then we could slowly start revealing all of the San Andreas players, because they're the real ones I want to bring in, because Vince is important, don't get me wrong, but it was only important to get that as basically Amelia's story, to explain how she came to the city. What's her reason for being there when, future players ask her when they meet for the first time? To give her more than just, yeah, I moved here. I know it's kind of convoluted and all that stuff, but that's life. And I treat my role plays as very much like it's life. That's why I roll with punches, and because you don't know what's going to happen on server. Honestly, the number of times I had to change a story because something happened I was not expecting. Joey's whole freaking storyline, for God's sakes. I know I haven't played him in a while, but that's mostly just because I don't want to take too much roleplay away from D&J, because there's, like I said, not a lot of SIP stuff, so I don't want to take too much roleplay away from somebody that does it, that's their passion. So I've been more or less telling my stories and living out my character with Amelia, which is why I haven't even played Odin, because I really don't know what to do with Odin. Again, he was designed to be played on OCRP before I knew what Foresight was, so it's a learning process all around. It's gotta get used to it. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to say about Vega House, because I really gotta get off the server before patrol starts. What time is it? I got a few more minutes, right? Yeah, I got a few more minutes. But, as for Vega House, after Amelia leaves next week, everything from here forward is strictly San Andreas based. There is, outside of maybe a few hitters, specialized hitters coming in from out of town, most of the stuff's going to be CAD based characters, so you're going to see these characters. We're going to slowly start introducing them here soon. Outside Tommy, like I said, Tommy's the one I've been slowly trying to introduce, but I haven't had the real opportunity outside criminal activity. I'm working on trying to do something to get where I can get at least 3 of the main characters that's going to be part of the San Andreas factions, because I don't know if I should say this, because that kind of, I might be wrong. Yeah, I don't want to give away how the cops are supposed to find these people now, because at this point, I'm not going to have the main Vega operations on it's all shadows. Let me put it that way. It's going to be all shadows from now on for them, because they already see what happened to Vega. They know what happened with the last hitter they had, and they already know they're on the watch, and right now they're just more or less hoping everything falls on Vega, and they can just stay in the shadows until they can either rebrand or redefine themselves as the new Vega house, depending on how I take the story. So with all that, I think I've pretty much tried to... one thing I've got to make sure clear, if anybody's confused as to why Rebecca was being targeted so heavily, I know Archer, I don't know if he just didn't remember or if he just didn't correlate. Part of the reason why we burned the hotel room was we was trying to correlate the fact that Rebecca was being hunted, and to make it clear that it was the Vega house going after her, so that way the cops would realize just how severe we were trying to... I mean, because Vega house is one of the most deadliest gangs out there right now. So basically when Rebecca took Amelia's car to D&J, she specifically asked for it to be inspected because she knew her sister was being tracked. And in the end, she knew Amelia was not willing to testify against Vega because she didn't know who Vega was. She didn't understand the dynamics as like Rebecca did. So that's why Rebecca took her car to D&J to get the tracker revealed, which then led the cops to know about the tracker, which is why Archer, or Creek, put Amelia into protective custody because he knows how dangerous Vega House's thugs are. It's the only thing I can say is the whole story did play out perfectly, that they understood just how dangerous anything to deal with this group is. So they did pretty much everybody that's not dead just put into witness protection so fast it ain't funny. Which is why I was also trying to avoid being near Rebecca, having Rebecca near the cops as much as possible during last night's roleplay. Because if they don't see the gun, they were going to put her in protective custody. I mean, even they would say, we could have put you in. You're like, yeah, okay. I don't need another character in protective custody with this one. I need this one to die, unfortunately. And I can't say that, but, yeah. That's sort of why I was trying to get away from the cops that last little bit in speeding, but I didn't realize that Brian was keeping up with me as well as he was until I went back afterwards to try to figure out what everybody was talking about, how confusing it was, because from my side of it, I didn't see none of the confusion aspects. I had no idea about the helicopter. I didn't know about any of the other random stuff that was going on. So, for me, I had no way to explain it in-game to them and to understand what was happening, let alone for me to know what was truly happening. But again, that's life. So, with all that, don't know if I'm streaming tonight. I mean, I am going to be streaming, but I'm probably just going to play Mafia because I'm still, like I said, dealing with all this. And as much as I haven't really said much about Rebecca other than the story play, I will say that I didn't think it was going to be this hard killing off one of my characters. I really, really considered not doing it, but I'm not going to change my story. She was meant to die. There's so many people that's going to be involved with this aspect that you're going to meet and introduce with the Vega House and Amelia that not all of them are going to make it, unfortunately. And I can't just go changing my story just because I get attached to a character every time I play them, because I didn't play Rebecca that much, but I played her enough and I created her, so she meant something I didn't anticipate. And so right now it's a little raw, I guess you could say. So with all that, I think I'm got to get off this server before people start coming in case anything happens tonight. And then I will start a scheduled stream here shortly with Mafia 2, finishing that off. And probably if we finish that off, we'll go on in and start Mafia 3. I just need to make sure I have that set up so it works with the OBS systems and all that. So with that, I'm Outdoor Gamer and with Amelia. Always, Dad's always kind of stupid to say with this kind of talk, but as always, keep gaming fun. This ain't fun, but it is fun for me, sorry. And until next time, thanks for watching.